And the next question I have is in regard to the government. So what I want to ask you is the current government catering to the industry's ambitions in the hopes that it will lead to India being self-reliant? Is that an incentive from the government to, further the EIA 2020 course?
I definitely think so. I think I would. I think that from their perspective, I understand why they're doing it. I don't want to say that I sympathize with it, but I get why they're doing it. From their perspective, they're trying to bring in more private industries. They're trying to, install more heavy industries. From their angle, that's the way to boost the industry. And I can't say whether or not they have the knowledge of alternative economic systems, of alternate development systems. I can't talk for that, but I think that from their perspective, that's probably what they're trying to do, definitely. But I do heavily question that that is not the right way to necessarily do that, because obviously it's eating up a lot of natural resources. It's self-sufficient, so sure, right now it's self-sufficient, but very soon we're going to have to start importing huge amounts of natural resources if we just use them at the rate we're using them right now. And that really doesn't fit in with the government's idea of self-reliance or Atmanirbharta if we end up having to import a lot of our resources to run our heavy industries after that. So from that perspective, I feel like it's a very, very short-term plan. It's a very immediate COVID response plan, but I really don't think it tackles the very issue of something like the pandemic, something like the fact that a pandemic was able to cause our entire economy to crash to this extent. It's troubling, that we're so reliant on the market, on everything, on the way the economy is currently structured to actually keep it going. There's absolutely no decentralization. There's very little local production and consumption happening. And the fact that a pandemic could shatter the economy to such an extent, it just shows how flimsy it is. And I think it's sad that we're not. I think it's sad that we're not using this opportunity to actually look at. India has a lot of culture. It has a lot of talents. I don't know why we're not looking at those instead, and just looking at exploiting more natural resources.
Thank you for your answer. So you mentioned that there's alternative environmental methods. So are there any parallels to EIA in other countries? If so, how effective are they?
I would not be able to comment too much on that. I don't know a whole great deal about the EIA, if they have something similar in other countries, but I do know that they have a lot of environment protection laws in other countries, especially in European countries and the US as well. Actually, if you go and take a look, they've done a very decent job of protecting their environment over there, their forests, their ecosystems. But I would, of course, say that their situation isn't as complicated. I think India is a lot more complicated because the tie between the local people and the reliance on natural resources is a lot higher here. And I think you have a lot more tribal communities, you have a lot more village communities in India. There's a lot more diversity in culture. So from that perspective, I think even, I won't be able to comment too much on like internationally what exactly has happened. Personally, I'm also quite like new into the laws aspect of this. I'm learning as well. But I definitely think that there are some interesting models out there. But at the same time, I also do think that there's no lack of very intelligent and experienced environmentalists and scientists in India who I think if we put our heads together could come up with something that's very, very India specific and could actually work for India. I know that especially in the public consultation period, there have been a lot of good documents that have been written and sent to the government as suggestions like during the public consultation period for what could be done to the EIA. One biggest call right now that's being made is that the EIA should be a law. So right now the EIA notification, it's kind of passed as a backdoor policy. It's not passed through the parliament. So that's why it's just a notification. It's not a law. But a lot of people are now calling for the EIA to be made a law because it affects a lot of the subsections of the Environment Protection Act. And it's clearly critical to the Environment Protection Act as well. So that is one definite thing that needs to happen with the EIA is that it needs to be made into a law. And I think after that, there's so many research studies done in India about what would be the right way to maybe go forward regarding environment in India. There's some great reports. We read a very interesting report by the Tiwari Committee, 1980s. I don't remember the date exactly, sorry, but again, a very, very interesting report. It was during Indira Gandhi's time, and it completely lists out the tone of that report was so different. The tone was that the citizens and the government have a responsibility to protect the environment, and it went on to list the environmental degradation that was happening and the fact that the government was actually agreeing to those and thinking of doing something, and just the way it's degraded since then, despite the increase in the environmental movement is, I think there's just not enough. I just don't think environment and environmentalists are given enough importance in our Indian setting and government.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for highlighting how serious this topic is. So the last and final question that I want to ask you is, how can the citizens of India help in legally opposing this bill, especially the students? How can they help against EIA?
Okay, legally right now we can't do anything. I know it's really sad to hear that, but we cannot do anything right now, at least until the bill is, and if it is passed. So right now, the best thing that we can all do is, if you have really good suggestions or if you want to say something to the ministry, send them an email. Whether or not they look at it, we'll find out later, but I think send it to them anyway if you have something in mind. But more than that, I think maybe I think really talk to everyone around you. More than I think opposing this at a legal level right now, it's really important to raise awareness about it, so that in case it is passed, in case anything does happen, it can turn into a national movement, because it's something that is affecting everyone nationally. The EIA 2020 is, I think, one of the. It's been a while since we've had something which environmentally that is affecting every single state of India. Every single district of India is affected by the EIA 2020. And I think we should use that to our advantage. This should be a time when everyone talks about it, and not just about the EIA. We should be talking about generally, the regional issues in every place. If you know about them, I think you should definitely go and read up about them. There's some very good resources online. There's a lot of resources in regional languages also, which is now coming out. If you do a simple search also, you'll get some great websites. I'm sure maybe you guys can link some in your description as well that people could click on. But I think read about them and then circulate them to your friends. So maybe make posters, make infographics, put it on your Instagram. Social media is very powerful, so put that on your social media. And I think just talk about it as much as possible. There's still a huge population of India which doesn't know about the EIA and what's happening. So from that perspective, I would say first get to know about it. 11th August is when the public consultation period ends. So send in whatever you can before that. 11th October is the time up till when the government will be considering our suggestions. I hope they will actually consider it. And then after that, 11th December is when the EIA draft may be passed. So it's only after 11th December that any legal action could actually be taken. And again, that is that's a little iffy. We don't know whether the court would support us or not support us. There is legal action being taken right now by many of the courts, like the Karnataka High Court recently put out a statement that because the EIA wasn't translated into regional languages, it may stay the draft. So things are happening. I would just urge everyone to read up about it and understand the issue as much as possible. And just keep talking to everyone around you. I think that's the best way you can help in right now. If you can get students together and begin talking about it, see if you can maybe send a letter to your local, it could be your MPs, MLAs, anyone, but if you can get a bunch of students together and send letters urging them to take a stand on it, if you can, for example, urge your college heads to take a stand on it, I think that would be very impactful. If we can get many people like that to take a stand, that would be great. So come together in like groups and talk about it, raise awareness about it. If it's safe in your area, do a street strike, if it's safe. But yeah, I think those are some of the things that people can do right now.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for being here with us. I think that's about the time that we have. And Abhishek.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. What all the information that you've given us has been rather very informative, and it seems that the way forward is to increase awareness among especially youth, the future of India, who have the capacity, especially now with tools like the internet in our hand. So we got to increase the awareness on this severely important topic, and maybe force the government's hand to do the right thing for the nation. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching, everyone. This is Miss Anjali Dalmia, and thank you for tuning in today. Goodbye.